So lo and behold, here it is. We've been through Iowa, been through New Hampshire, and we've been through Nevada. And we're in a flat-footed tie for pledged delegates. Delegates earned via the caucuses and the primaries. And it's 51 to 51. Obviously, there's a lot of so-called superdelegates out there. We've had another show talking about. We did a couple of shows talking about superdelegates and what they are and the fact that they're unpledged. They can move around. The same thing happened in 2008 when Hillary Clinton had the better part of the superdelegates early on, and then as President Obama, then Senator Obama, began to win, they gravitated over to him. So here we are. What have we been up to here in Connecticut? Let's talk about Connecticut first, since we're a Connecticut-based show, because the same stuff's kind of going on everywhere, I think. Everybody's kind of, So what we talk about is probably pretty much a good template for what's going on nationwide. Gentlemen?
Go ahead, Henry.
For this area, what we have is a breakfast that we do every morning on Saturday from 8 to 10, and anyone's welcome to come and get plugged into the campaign. Whether you want buttons or stickers or materials, we have it.
Good conversation.
And we are supposed to be there for 2 hours, but many a time we're there till past noon. So the conversation is good. We also have a veterans for Bernie at the War Memorial in Danbury, and that happens at 1 o'clock every Saturday. Robert Garavel is the lead on that. And whoever is willing to come and freeze their butts off sometimes, they're welcome to come.
Shout out to Barry Finch, because he's our guitar man. He's been on the show playing America the Beautiful. And a quick note for your meetup in Brookfield at Panera Bread, a fine eatery in Brookfield that allows us to come there and gather and socialize and just have good, just like this. Good open conversation. You certainly can join us here on the show, but you can join them there at Panera Bread every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock, right?
Yep.
And have that conversation and stay as long as you like, stay as short as you like, stay as long as you like.
And as far as Barry, he's been our supplier, Bernie's supplier. He goes to Vermont and brings us all the buttons and whatever material.
Yep.
Not the other kind of supplier, but he's also our musician, and he does the veteran rallies on Saturday, and he plays his guitar, and he has this new idea where he takes donation envelopes.
Yeah.
Puts in a button and puts in a couple of, like a piece of, like a description of Bernie's platform, stuffs it in an envelope, and as we rally for Bernie, he, with his bag, along with Robert Garavel, last weekend took the bag and we're giving it out to people. And Robert got a really nice kick out of someone, a lady, I think she was Hispanic, with kids in the car. She opens the window, and they felt like these guys were begging, so they gave Robert $1.
Sure, Robert told them it was for a great cause.
Oh yeah, and Robert said, thank you, but we hope that you would consider Bernie as your presidential candidate. So it was funny. As far as other things, we've done last week. We've done a movie showing too. Of Michael Moore's Where to Invade Next. I think I would recommend it for people who are curious about what democratic socialism is about.
And that's, of course, tongue-in-cheek, the notion about where to invade next.
Yes, yeah.
What's the name of that movie again? Once again,
Where to Invade Next.
Where to Invade Next. That's Robert.
It's Michael Moore.
Michael Moore's movie. Yeah.
And really, surprisingly, I thought it was very apolitical. I mean, he was really looking for ideas. And as a spoiler, I guess I would spoil the movie, because at the end of the day, after the 2-hour movie, he basically comes back and says, all of these ideas came from here.
Yeah.
Okay? Every one of the ideas he was talking about came from this country. And we've just forgotten and kind of lost our way.
That happens.
Yeah.
You and I were discussing something that Lorraine Vigoriti had written. And I'd like to just touch upon it.
Go ahead. Sure.
And these are the words. This is Lorraine now. She's.
Let me just do a little backup. She has a Facebook in the area supporting Bernie, but she's also very active on phone banking, which is, by the way, what the Bernie campaign wants people to do now, is to just BernieSanders.com/phone bank. Everything you need to do for the campaign via your phone is there. There's a very quick video, and they give you a script, and you can call to whatever states they need you to work.
So that's just call somebody somewhere, make a connection, strike up a conversation, and just discuss some issues.
Well, the way they approach is, the first call is really a screening call.
Yeah.
Okay, it's run by a computer. So the computer dials for you, and then when someone picks up, it turns the conversation over to you. At the end of the conversation, you do not hang up, but update the database. And once the database is updated as to where the person is in terms of Bernie, then the dialer will go out and continue to dial and turn over the next conversation to you.
Well, I think the significant part of that is it enables those that are canvassing from door to door now to know where to go.
Exactly.
I mean, you're going to waste your time if you're going to go to a non-Bernie supporter. You want to really hit the Bernie supporters to make sure that you make a face-to-face contact.
And you had Deborah Cohn here, and she was actually, and as well as Callie Jane, they've been up north doing the canvassing. They've used the data collected via the phone banks to, and of course they got a script and so on. And she described how it runs.
Yeah, this is 21st century politics. Is with all the campaigns, everybody's campaign tries to identify voter ID. They try to identify each individual voter as being generally on a scale of 1 to 5 for your candidate, or less and less and less, or 1 would be definitively for a different candidate. And maybe there's a conversation to be had there, but maybe there's a better conversation to be had with somebody that's a little closer to being willing to consider your candidate. Now, I want to note Joe did, and it's on YouTube, a great video about immigrants and talking about the issue of immigrants and immigration and the folks that are the folks that built this country and continue to build this country. And kudos to you for doing an incredible video.
Well, it's interesting. The entire program. It was directed by Paula Mendoza. The production was headed up by Michael Skolnick. Michael Skolnick has been a spokesman for the Russell Simmons hip-hop movement for a number of years. And I believe some of the funding actually came from none other than Mark Zuckerberg. And the infomercial was essentially on the merits of immigration reform. If you're interested in viewing it, just go right on YouTube. Mass deportation. That'll get you to it. 11 million. Joe.
I imagine Joe Niola would be one of the tags on the.
And there are. I think they're going to do 11 of them. I think 3 of them are already out there, but they're very informative, and they're totally in line with the Bernie Sanders view on how we can best handle the immigration situation in this country. The idea of building walls, the idea of deporting parents and separating the children from their families is just totally un-American.
It is. And I want to throw a quick shout out to a group that I'm part of, Danbury Area Refugee Assistance, DARA, that we're working on bringing a family in from Syria to live in Danbury, the Danbury area, and there are plenty of Syrian refugee families that have found their way in Connecticut. Connecticut's one of the states that will take refugees from the I was going to say prisoner of war camps or concentration camps. It's almost that bad. They're in refugee camps in Syria. They were displaced. What evolved out of the invasion and occupation of Iraq has been a huge displacement of people. It started with about 2 million Iraqis that were displaced by the invasion and occupation of Iraq. But and the big question everybody has is, well, how do we know that they're safe? Well, these folks that are allowed to enter the United States, they have been on between an 18-month and 24-month, 2-year vetting process to make sure that they're safe, to make sure that they'll do well blending into the society that exists here already, that are ready to stand on their own feet and support themselves in pretty short order. And it's a great opportunity to continue to build this great country through the process of immigration.
Well, there's one aspect of the political operation right now, especially on the Republican side, and what they're trying to do is to take a potential situation and build it as though it were a reality.
Fear of the unknown.
Fear of the unknown. There are certain knowns that are or should be a concern of the American people. Mm-hmm. The Medicare, okay, yep. Education, a fair wage, mm-hmm. Student debt. These are all realities.
The military budget's
the military budget.
Important consideration for us going forward.
There are economic concerns. There are social concerns. There are climate concerns. These things already exist as reality, and these are the things that should be under discussion. But rather than discussing these particular issues, the idea of ISIS attacking the United States, the idea of another terrorist attack, is put in the forefront when it shouldn't be there, since it is not a reality. Of course, if it were a reality, then of course it should get front and center discussion, but it's not. So what's happening is you got this fear-mongering that is put in front of the American public in order to prevent them from really knowing what the true concerns are and should be. I was fortunate to see a YouTube video of Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks. Mm-hmm. And it seems as though you get a liberal or a progressive on CNN, and then put you opposite a conservative. They'll take a weak liberal, a liberal who may not be as aware of the issues as Anna is, and then the conservative will just steamroller over that liberal. Well, they weren't able to do that with Anna because she came right out, made it really clear what the issues are that should be discussed, and she steamrolled over the conservative, and it was quite a compelling, moving, and inspiring exchange. So.
I'd like to go back to where we started, which was about Lorraine Vigoriti.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just to finish up, we have there's an active group here in Danbury. We have a distribution list of 140 people right now, and there is a Facebook page that Mark Morash started, mm-hmm. and she contributed this to the Facebook page. Okay, the Facebook page name is Danbury for Sanders. Okay, the 4 is the digit 4. So she's been very involved. She was sick recently, but now she's back, so she's sending all this stuff to us. So as you were reading,
it's all part of the the right trying to steamroller over the left, or the establishment trying to steamroller over the non-establishment. With the exception, I guess, of our friend Trump, who knows how to handle the situation by turning it all into reality TV. This is Lorraine. I continue to face friends who are still Hillary supporters. That's fine if she's their choice. I would ask them, though, to please stop trying to clip my wings, dampen my spirits, and attempt to instill fear in me. The older I become, the more I realize that as a child, I had a fire in my belly, a thirst for the unknown, and curiosity about folks who were different from me. I choose not to listen to negativity, but to collect my own information and make more mindful decisions. As I grew older, I took chances. I traveled alone. I walked into neighborhoods where no faces or colors were similar to mine. I reached out and made friends. I found a house in a very desirable area of Westchester and got the deal of the century. So I asked, why would I ever consider allowing fear or trepidation into my being at this time of life? Why would I purposely choose to deny myself the pleasure of a full, joyful, and loving existence? It truly breaks my heart to see and hear these Hillary-supporting friends bend to the will of the establishment and align with the same old, same old. I, on the other hand, can't wait to vote for change, to honor our revolutionary American spirits, and to live in a nation where people are the profit and the dividends are distributed to all. I mean, you can't beat it. I mean, the woman realizes the importance of independent thinking. The woman realizes that we don't have to be satisfied with the status quo. We don't have to be satisfied with mediocrity. All right, we can strive to improve. We can strive to grow. All right, some people might think that Bernie Sanders' position is too ambitious. All right, the very fact it's ambitious is what should be sparking people away from Hillary Clinton and toward Bernie Sanders.
And Ted, well, I always think back to Teddy Roosevelt, a great president who accomplished the same types of things that Bernie Sanders is looking to accomplish, and that's to bring back power to the voters and to the working families of America, and taking it away from the very few folks owning the majority of the wealth in the country. And we go through this cycle every 70, 80 years, 100 years. It happens. It's happened before. Probably happen again one day. But right now, our task is to bring the power back to individuals and to allow people to share the wealth, so to speak. And sharing the wealth is not as long as you work for it. Sharing the wealth is a noble gesture in America. It's what America's built on.
You know, just in line with what you're saying, David, this whole idea of some people feel that, whoa, what's Bernie Sanders trying to do? Redistribute wealth? Oh, that's against the capitalist notion of free enterprise and the ability to get rich. Well, wait a minute. Bernie Sanders is not the first one to redistribute the wealth. The wealth has already been redistributed to the 1%. Okay? Bernie Sanders just wants to sort of equal the playing field.
Level the playing field, yeah.
Bring that. Thanks. Bring it all back.
I think it's something it's safe to say we all believe in. Everybody believes in a fair and balanced playing field where everybody has equal opportunity. And some will become rich, but it won't be because they were born rich. It won't be because that they've got an unfair advantage in the game of life.
Well, that's the problem with capitalism. The big problem with capitalism, well, I wouldn't say it's the big problem, but one of the problems is everyone doesn't get the same opportunities. There are those people who are fortunate enough to be given certain opportunities that they can take advantage of, and eventually accrue a tremendous amount of wealth.
Yeah, that's capitalism gone amok.
Right. Okay. Basic human charity. All right. Would instruct them and inform them that, hey, wait a minute, I've had all these opportunities by chance, by good fortune, maybe even by providence. Now, I have a moral obligation to look out for my fellow man. Fellow man, fellow woman.
To paraphrase Ann Richards, she had a lot of choice words to say about George W. Bush. Okay, like he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and so on. But, not everyone is born on third base. Okay, we have to acknowledge that. And, we have a social contract that says that those who can help those who cannot. And unfortunately, the social contract has been thrown out the window.
Yeah, the spiritual side of us, which we all have, regardless of whether we belong to an organized religion or not, all of us are spiritual beings, and we all believe in essentially the same thing, in fairness and in human dignity and the right to move along as far as your hard work will take you, but not leaving anyone so far behind that they starve.
Well, there's a small percentage of people that have an incredibly large share of the wealth.
Yep.
Okay, and that doesn't work well.
Well, this is why, again, I would recommend that viewers see the Michael Moore movie. It's here till the end of the week, at least. It may be extended, I don't know, because Bethel doesn't really publish their schedule way ahead of time. But the one thing that they talked about right at the beginning was a factory, a clothing factory, where people, the workers, go for a 2-hour lunch at home. And Michael Moore talks to the ownership, and he says, "Is this okay?" And maybe you're paying these people too much, and so on. And the management comes and says, "It's our pleasure. If our workers are happy, then we're happy. And so what if we take a little less?"
And the company prospers too.
The company will prosper because the people identify with their work. Okay, it's a partnership. It's not an adversarial type situation. They take pride in what they're doing, and everyone will prosper.
Yeah,
that's the mentality.
The other thing that they showed in the movie is this idea that in this country we have boards of directors. All corporations have boards of directors. At least the Fortune 500 do. I checked with my friend who's plugged into a lot of these boards, and I asked him if there was any employee representation. And there is none, as far as we know, in the top 500 corporations in this country.
That would certainly make sense to have
in Europe and Germany, they explain that they're mandated by law to have half of the employees participate on the board of directors.
So half of the board of directors are employees.
People who have hands-on experience. And imagine, if you're a corporation, if you don't have worker participation, then you lose out on a lot of input. These people know the process, okay? And basically what we're doing is we're dividing between knowledge workers and people who do. And there's a huge disconnect. Whereas in Europe, they bring the two together and learn from each other.
Capitalism attempts, to create this adversarial situation because as management in control of the wealth is increasing its wealth, it's propelled to increase it even further. And that sometimes works to the disadvantage of the worker. The worker could be impoverished. A socialist idea, unions, collective bargaining. Okay? What's happening in effect is an advocate for the worker. All right? A way that the worker could somehow or other be able to at least negotiate with the employer in an attempt for some sort of equity.
Yeah.
All right?
Joe, I think that what I see is that both sides, whether it's management and employees, I find that in many cases, and you'll find exceptions all over the place, but the reality is that we want more or less a balance between the two, okay? Unfortunately, if you eliminate unions, okay, well, how does the little guy defend himself? Okay, how does the employee might have done nothing wrong, but there's no recourse that he has. Does he go to management? Management's going to take the other side. So there's, and of course, the other side, and I get this from my business friends, they say, we hate unions because, they've gone crazy. They've gone haywire. Okay, and it's true. Okay?
The same argument, Henry, can go, to the government. The government itself.
But so we're looking for a balance, a fairness.
If a government is hijacked by the money interest.
Exactly.
Okay, if money is not only controlling the government, it's controlling the media, all right, large corporations, all right, the people, not only the workers, but the American people, they need an advocate. They need something powerful enough, to go against that.
Yeah, we're looking for balance.
Well,
and unfortunately, right now what we're living through is where money has gone way out of whack. Where the influence of money is so out of whack compared to everything else.
Bernie Sanders, sees this, Henry. Bernie Sanders is aware of it.
If you listen to Trump, what I see, and
who?
Trump, he's done some really interesting speeches, but the one thing that really amazed me is that it was about worship of money, nothing else. It's about talking to him about his rich friends and how rich he is and how powerful he is and how much influence he has. Yep. It's all about money and nothing else.
It's the American idolatry.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a medium of exchange, money. All right. It's supposed to be important to maintain some degree of wealth, but it's gotten out of hand. We used to talk about millionaires in the past because there were so few. We don't talk about millionaires anymore. Now we talk about billionaires.
We're going to continue the conversation.
Take over. Go ahead.
We're running out of time for the first show. We'll come back and do a second show, but while we fade out, we're just going to keep on discussing. And it's Progressive Soup. I'm David Stevenson, Joe Niola, and Henry Pietras, my very, very good friends and wonderful guests, talking about life in general and specifically the goals and aspirations of Americans as evidenced by our candidate Bernie Sanders. And one quick thing: how do we pay for college for all? We already do. How do we pay for health care for all? We already do. It's just being paid for in a very bad way, with folks that are sucking out the money that should be used for the purpose they're intended to. Progressive Soup, continue, gentlemen.
That's what Michael Moore is talking about in his movie. He said, take a look at what.